Greetings, everybody. It's Thursday. Actually, I prefer the Afrikaans name to this word, Donderdag, Thunder Day, because Thursday is named after Thor, the god of thunder. And Donderdag sounds more like thunder to me. I hope you have a great Thursday. Today, I want to think about what I'm calling the heart of the matter. You know, we as Jesus Church have a message for the world. We have good news. What is that good news? Well, it's interesting that when Paul wrote to the Corinthians, he was writing to people who were very cultured, very educated. They knew all the philosophies, they knew the science of the day, but they were also very corrupt. They were not a good bunch of people. But he loved them. And I want to read to you his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, just the first 5 verses, where he says, "When I came to you, brothers and sisters, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony of God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear, and with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on men's wisdom, but on God's power." And Paul is saying here, I wanted to talk about nothing else. Not that he knew nothing else, because he was a very educated person, Paul, but I just want to talk about Jesus crucified. The heart of the message that we have for the world. And why did he put the cross at the center of our Christian message? I just want to think of 5 things just briefly today that we can ponder on. The first one is that the cross deals with the central problem of humanity. All that led up to the cross, all the few thousand years since human beings sinned, everything was preparing for this moment when Jesus died on the cross. And before he died, he said, "It is finished." The whole process of bringing human beings to God is finished, because our sin is what separates us from God. And on the cross, Jesus took our sin, our sinfulness upon himself. And he died in our place so that we could be reunited with God. It is the most important message in the whole world, if not the universe. And Paul says, I wanted to know nothing else except Christ crucified. The second thing is that Jesus dealt with death, because death is the consequence of sin, we are told. And he died our death. And then he rose, he conquered death. Death was the last enemy, we are told in the Bible, and he defeated it. So we have hope beyond death because of the resurrection of Jesus. So Paul wanted to make the cross central. The third thing is that he also identified on the cross with our suffering. One of the biggest issues that people have with the Christian faith is, how could a God of love allow suffering? God didn't separate himself from our suffering. He identified totally with it. He came in his son Jesus to share our suffering, and extreme suffering, to be stripped naked, to be hung on a cross, and to die in the cruelest way, in order to be able to show that he cared for our suffering. And then this cross, for Paul and for us as well, is the fullest extent of God's love. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. It is the fullest expression of God's love. God could do no more. What more could God do to show that he loved us, but to give us his only begotten son and to allow him to go to death for the sake of winning us back to himself? Jesus said, greater love has no one than this, than that a man should lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends. Jesus gave his life for our friends. And the fifth reason why he made the cross central was because this was the message that had the power to change lives. You could go through all the philosophies of Paul's day. You could do all the clever teachings of the famous philosophical teachers, but they would not change a person's inner life, the spiritual heart of his life. It was only the message of the cross that would do that, because it is the message of the cross that is the power for salvation. Paul made the cross central. That is the heart of our message. It leads to all sorts of other things, like bringing God's love to our communities, helping people in their needs. But the heart of it is this. And so today, let's focus upon the heart of the matter, God's love for us, shown on the cross of Jesus. Have a wonderful donderdag, and let God's love surround you. Take care of yourselves. Do all the things you know you've got to do. And let's keep safe. Bye for now.